We got a text in before the show from 2444. Who would you guys say is the best player at each level on the defense? Defensive line, linebacker, secondary for USU football heading into this season. And I think you've kind of detailed a few of those names. And for me, maybe it's just because I know these guys more than some of the transfers, but I'm defaulting to the guys that I know and that I saw progress last season. So I'd say Tyree Morris on the defensive line. I'd say Bronson Olivau at linebacker and Brevin Hamblin at safety. And I think that Hamblin started off the season a little bit rough. There were times where he made great plays, but he also, too many times I saw the back of his jersey, and there are times when you shouldn't be seeing the back of your safety's jersey because he's chasing somebody down. But I thought that he improved as the season went on, and with his length and size, he can do some interesting things. So those are probably the three that stand out to me. I think we may be able to make some good arguments about some of the newcomers, and they could be pretty exciting to watch. But I'm going to have to default to those who I know and what I've seen. And so I'd go with Morris, Olivau, and Hamblin, at least just as a gut reaction to the question without doing a ton of research and spending a lot of time on it.
Yeah, I've not done like a ton of research, but I looked into a lot of the the newcomers. I wrote an article about like newcomers to watch. This is back like before the spring game. But on the defensive line, that's one where there's less known. Like there's a lot of newcomers in the defensive line if you're including the edge rushers. No, they're kind of like stand-up linebackers or the defensive line or linebacker. But if you include them in the defensive line category, then there's a lot of unknowns. So you end up kind of defaulting to Tyree Morris. I think Athlon had him like first or second team All Mountain West. So he's a guy that's thought highly of as a returner and who was solid last season.
Yeah.
But, aside from him, I think I highlighted Jordan Pendleton in my newcomers to watch, but really it's any one of the guys they brought in. Edge rusher like Jordan Pendleton, Jeremiah Holmes, Adonis Jackson, James Jeanette. Like some of those guys have played a lot more. I think it was James Jeanette who didn't play as much. I forget which. He came from a power conference school. I can't remember which one. But so some of these guys are power conference transfer down. Some of them are actually transferring up from like the FCS or Division II level, where there's a lot of experience. I think Pendleton was he played for St. Thomas, I want to say. And St. Thomas was is either that or whatever team he was on was like one of the top 10 or 15 defenses in the country. And he was arguably their best player on that defense. So he's a guy who can be a wrecking ball. But yeah, at the linebacker, it's Bronson Olivau, Harrison Taggart, Asher Cunningham. I've been saying Asher Cunningham. Apparently it's Asher. That's how Coach Howell pronounced it. So I'll correct myself there. But you pick one of those guys. We'll default to Olivau because he looks like he's going to be the leader. He was a starter out there in the spring game. He's the returning linebacker. He's the known commodity. And even though it's a safe pick, I think it probably is the right pick of he's their best player. Could it be somebody else? Yes, but only because that player happens to be even better. It's not it wouldn't be an indictment on Olivau. It'd be more of a praise of whoever manages in it. So if you have somebody that's better than Bronson Olivau in the linebacker core, Utah State has the best linebacker core in the conference.
And that's great.
That's kind of the situation that you're in right there.
Yeah.
And then in the secondary, I don't know if I go with Brevin Hamblin. The problem is that you then have to go with one of the newcomers. I look at Chapman Lewis, where he has starting experience in the power conference level.
Fair.
Kabongo doesn't have as much. I think he only played 200 or so snaps across 2 seasons at Oklahoma State, and it was also Oklahoma State last year. Wasn't particularly a great team, but he's the guy that has good talent. Charger Doty is the guy that I'm kind of watching because we keep hearing his name come up.
Yeah. Yes.
And it's this, it's not
unprompted.
One of the, unprompted. That's the thing, is they're not people aren't saying, well, tell us about Charger Doty. It's they bring him up, bringing him up at the spring game, bringing him up in this interview we just did with Coach Howell. So I don't know if he'll be a starter, but I feel could he be what we saw redshirt freshman year from Ike Larson? Could he be that kind of player? Limited snaps, but big impact. Or maybe if there's an injury, heaven forbid we have an injury, but it's football, those things happen. Does he end up stepping into a starting role where he plays a lot of snaps and then becomes, a breakout player for the Aggies? It's kind of interesting to look at there.
Yeah, and then you've got some other young guys. I mean, Coach mentioned Chris Joe, who got in there and made made plays, significant plays at times last year as a freshman.
Yeah, true freshman.
You have Carson Tujay, who also made some big plays as a freshman last year. And so these are guys with more experience coming back and could be in the mix for Utah State defensively.